Good evening. Welcome to today's DNA. We will be discussing 5 articles. First 4 are prelim specific and last article is main specific. First article is all about BrahMos Missile. Second article is world's largest banana infructescence. Third is SRS Report 2021 which was recently released. Fourth is the Vruthi Campaign of the Kerala, which is related to the waste management technique. And the main related article is why farmers of India is preferring rice and wheat. Thank you. So first article is on the BrahMos, which was in news. You might be listening about a very popular theme now, that India has shifted from Aman ki Asha to BrahMos ki Bhasha. So that is the tactical change in India's posture in past few years, and accordingly what happened, BrahMos facility has been established in Lucknow, the Uttar Pradesh capital, right? That's why we are reading it, and BrahMos was in news as well recently, quite important for the UPSC purposes, which will come in GS paper 3 defense and technology, right? So what is the context of the news? So 300 crore BrahMos unit, which will be basically a production unit for the export purposes, what I have been learned about it, right? Was recently established and it was inaugurated by our honorable Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh ji along with our Yogi Adityanath ji, CM of the Uttar Pradesh, right? So before going through what is the importance of it, we will have to understand the importance of the BrahMos from the various aspects. So first let us try to understand the technical detail of the BrahMos. So it's a very common term that BrahMos was a joint venture between India and Russia, which was a joint venture company established by the more than 50% share by the Indians and less than 50% share by the Russians, right? In 1998, right? So this is the information. And in 2008, BrahMos Aerospace acquired the Indian state-owned firm Caltech to enhance production capability, because it was gaining popularity all over world because of its state-of-art technology. And the first test of the BrahMos was done way back in 2001 from the Chandipur testing range, right? So now why Chandipur testing range is important, just learn about it, because it is also important for the UPSC purposes. Now more technical detail about the BrahMos. So what is BrahMos? So basically it is a supersonic cruise missile. So there is a very beautiful word. First is the supersonic and second is the cruise. Let us try to understand what is the difference between both the things. So basically supersonic is speed. It is when we compare, there are basically largely 3 type of the missile that you will see. First you will see subsonic, that will be second will be the supersonic, and third will be the hypersonic. So what is the difference between all these 3 is about the speed, right? So subsonic will be having a speed of 0.8 Mach in and around. However, supersonic will be having 2 to 3 Mach at least, right? And hypersonic will be more than 5 Mach speed. That is the fact on the record. And when we talk about the supersonic, they can travel 1 kilometer in 1 second. That is the speed and agility associated with our BrahMos. That is the pride of India nowadays, right? So also it is a 2-stage missile, right? So there are multiple stages in any missile. So our BrahMos is what? It's a 2-stage missile. So 2-stage missile, so how it works? So basically there are 2 stages. First is the solid propellant stage and second is the liquid propellant stage. So in initial time, this solid propellant provide a kind of the kinetic of the energy, and in the second stage it provides the cruising speed. What is cruising? So basically there are 2 type of the missile. You might be hearing about Pakistan has fired Shaheen on India, right? Shahid missile on India. So it was basically a ballistic missile. Ballistic missile basically first go into the atmosphere, then come to the atmosphere, and they target the then they hit the target. However, the cruise missile like BrahMos travel basically within the environment. It can rove around like 5 meter in the ground to the 15 kilometer terminal height, right? So it's very agile, and they can hit target in very narrow range as well. And that is the beauty with what our BrahMos missile. So why BrahMos is quite lethal? So for example, this is a target, and this is the BrahMos which is been fired. So we know the earth is not flat, we all know that, and it's having some curvature, and the generally radar system is installed here. So radar system is having the range of like this, right? However, if they are approaching, we are firing the BrahMos, the radar will be having very lesser time to detect it, which is not the case with the cruise ballistic missile, because when they enter the exo atmosphere to the endo atmosphere, the radar has sufficient time to reflect and detect it, and it can be destroyed by the air defense system as well. That is why the BrahMos is quite unique in its technology. And you will be amazed to know that even USA started its supersonic cruise missile program in 1960s, but they were to abort it because of the production cost and the low success rate. However, we mastered this art of the supersonic cruise missile technology, and which have successfully utilized. It is rumored that we have utilized it during recent conflict, right? Hence, we have the might of the BrahMos. What is the beauty with BrahMos? It's the velocity, it's the flight range, it's seeker range, as well as the kinetic energy. So it is not only the speed of the BrahMos or the precision of the BrahMos that is important, but it is also the kinetic energy, which is quite lethal, because it can pierce a heavy or steel frame like body in seconds. That is the beauty with the our BrahMos missile. What are the other advanced capabilities of the BrahMos? Let us try to understand. For example, it can be applied at any platform, either sea, land, or in the air, right? In air, we are using integrated with the Sukhoi 30 MKI. In first BrahMos was used by the naval, our naval forces, and from the land we can use it. You might have heard about the mistaken fire of the BrahMos towards the Pakistan territory a few years back. It was in news. So it is indigenous technology, hence we can integrate it with any platform, right? So that we call triad. Second is, it's based on the fire and forget operation. Once you fire it, just forget about it, you can't recover it. Third is the high supersonic speed. We have already discussed about the what is the beauty with the BrahMos is, it is quite supersonic in speed, and hence it is not able to detect by the any radar. As of now, it is one of the speediest missile of the world, right? Next is the long flight range. It can travel on the record less than 300 km, but since we have signed the MTCR already, we can increase the range of the BrahMos easily. There is no impediment behind it. Third is the low radar signature. So basically, radar signature is basically since it's a quite agile shot and it is quite high tech technology, radar is not able to detect it. And I will already given you example how the curvature of Earth plus speed of the BrahMos help in to avoid radar detection, right? Also, it has the shortest flight time because of the again the cruising speed, and it has pinpoint accuracy. It makes BrahMos a very beautiful, agile and strongest missile system of the world, right? Let us discuss more about the BrahMos. So basically, we have discussed that it is in services. For example, the ship based weapon system complex we have already installed. Land based weapon complex system with the vertical launch configuration for mobile autonomous launcher. It has been in function. We have seen the mistaken fire by the Indian Armed Forces. Third is the air launch version, Sukhoi 30 MKI. We have already discussed, right? And we have new version, that is the next generation version of the BrahMos, which is supposed to be coming in the future time, which will be more lethal, which will be more agile, which will having lesser radar signature, and which will make it more stealth in terms of the detection and precision, right? And it can go underwater as well. That is the beauty with the next generation BrahMos, right? Since the BrahMos is the present BrahMos is lethal, but we want to make it future proof as well. That's why there is a provision for the new generation BrahMos. So what are the other generations? So the other generation of BrahMos is like BrahMos block 1, 2 and 3. which is having the improved targeting as well as which have the T-top terrain following, right. Second is the BrahMos 2, which will having more than Mach 7 speed, very effective, lethal, having scramjet propulsion system, means they don't need any external kind of the fuelage in it, right. In the first stage it is solid phase, they need solid fuels. In the second phase they work on the scramjet technology, hence there is no need of the external fuel tank. What is the next? BrahMos extended range, having range more than 450 km. It will be BrahMos ER. BrahMos A means it will be integrated with the Air Force, it is already operational. BrahMos NG, right, it will be lighter in design, having faster speed as well as having the flexibility in terms of the deployment. It can be deployed in within few minutes, 15-16 minutes it can be deployed, and as of now we can carry 1 or 2 BrahMos in Sukhoi. Once the NG version will be there, we can deploy 5 to 6 kind of the BrahMos in one platform of the Sukhoi, and Sukhoi having range more than 3000 km. If it integrated with the Sukhoi, it will become one of the most advanced weapon of the world. So, few example of subsonic, supersonic and the hypersonic. For example, subsonic, Tomahawk missile of the USA is known as the subsonic, having speed less than 8 Mach. Supersonic is having 2-3 Mach speed. We have already discussed, BrahMos is the leading contender. Hypersonic will be the speed having more than 5 Mach. Kinjal missile of the USA is in operation, and we are trying to make BrahMos 2, which will be having hypersonic speed as well. That is all about the technology which is having the BrahMos. Now we have seen the recent success rate of the BrahMos. All the things are not clear as of now by the defense forces, because Operation Sindoor is still going on. Once the this fog of war will be clear, we will be better able to know how effective and lethal our weapon system or kinetic system was, and accordingly to the impressive result of the BrahMos helped us to export it as well. For example, the Philippines became first nation to sign a deal to buy BrahMos in the tune of $700 million, right. The other countries are in talking terms. Hopefully we will be able to expedite the production from the Lucknow, and Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, UAE, Chile, South Africa, these are the countries showing keen interest in the BrahMos system. So with this I would like to go towards the MCQ, which is based on the previous year question. Just try to solve this question based on the given information. Hope you will be able to solve it. Now second news is on the world's longest banana infructescence, which was found recently in the forest of the Andamans, right. So it is relevant for the GS paper 3 environment and ecology because of the reason that it's the world's longest banana infructescence. That's why it's important. So what is the name of this species? It is Musa indelmanensis, right, which is endemic to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and it have the record infructescences of 4.2 meters, which is longest ever in any banana species worldwide, right. In past time in 2012 near Krishna Nallu river forest in the Little Andaman, it was first found, and initially the infructescence of this was around 3 meters. In the cultivated banana, the infructescence is of 1 meter, right, and the recent discovery location is restricted to Campbell Bay of the Nicobar Island, right. What is the tree height which was found? 11 meter, huge, right. So, and what was the stem girth? Almost 100 cm in Little Andaman and almost 110 cm in Campbell Bay specimen, right. So, this is the all about the new variety, and since it's a new plus world's largest banana infructescence, it may come into the prelims, because in the past we have seen the previous year question, the question was based out of this context only, and accordingly just try to solve this question out from the PYQ, right. Hope you will be able to solve it. Next is SRS Report 2021. What happened? The SRS report was released yesterday only, and it has the information that the total fertility rate, that is the TFR of the country remains constant at 2.0, right. It is the latest information. So, let us try to understand what is SRS and how it works. So, SRS stands for the Sample Registration System, and it came out with a statistical report in 2021, right? Which was released by the Office of the Registrar General and the Census Commissioner, which works under MHA, that is the Ministry of Home Affairs under the Government of India. And what is the work of the SRS? So, it contains the estimate of various demographic, fertility and mortality indicator based on the data collected through the SRS sample survey. So, they do a sample survey and based on that they releases certain kind of the data. And SRS in India is one of the largest demographic survey in the world, covering about 8.4 million samples, very huge number. And the key objective of SRS survey is to provide a reliable annual estimate of the birth rate, death rate, IMR, that is the infant mortality rate, and various other fertility and mortality indicators. And SRS has been serving as the main source of information on fertility and mortality in the state as well as national level from 1971 census onward, right. So, this is the basic information about the SRS rate. So, what SRS do? They assess the fertility rate, mortality rate, birth death rate and infant mortality rate in total, right. Now, what are the key fertility indicator as reported in SRS survey 2021? So, first is very important that total fertility rate, basically which is defined as a rate in a specific year, the total number of children that would be born to each woman if she were to live to the end of her childbearing year and give birth to a children in alignment with the prevailing age specific fertility rate. Means a woman can produce how many baby, right, in her production life production time, it is known as the total fertility rate. So, for India overall fertility rate is 2.0, means a woman can produce 2 babies, that is the simplest or simplistic definition of fertility TFR, total fertility rate, right. Basically, it indicate the stabilization in our fertility level, which is a very good sign because we are a country which is known for its population, right. Now, there are other information as well. For example, Bihar is having highest fertility rate, which is having 3.0, means a woman in her life cycle can produce 3 babies in average, right. At the same time, Delhi and West Bengal is having 1.4 only, right. So, which is the highest? The Bihar. Which is the lowest? Delhi and West Bengal. Now, what are the other datas? So, if we see the data of 1971 and the age group 0 to 14 year, it was like 41.2 year was the age. Now, what happened for the 0 to 14 year in 2001, now we are having 24.8% of the population of the children, which is declining. What about age group of the youth? So, in 1971 it was 53%, now it increased to 66% around. What about the aged person 60 plus? It was 6% in 1961, now it became 9%. What about 65 plus? It was 5.3% in 1971, now it became 5.9%, a mere increase in it. Overall, this shows the shift in our population pattern. We can see we are country of the young people, but in coming time we will be a country of the old people as well, right. That is the case with the Kerala, right. We will see it later on. And whatever I am saying, the highest elderly population, that is 60 plus, lives in Kerala, followed by Tamil Nadu, followed by the Himachal Pradesh, right. You can use all these data in your answer, or it can be asked in your prelims as it is verbatim. And the lowest elderly population lies in Bihar, Assam, followed by the Delhi, right, which simply indicates that Kerala is aging rapidly while Bihar is demographically young state, right. Now, what are the marriage age trend? In 1990s, average age was 19.3 years. By 2021, it has been increased to the 20.5 years, which simply shows the female education empowerment and change in the lifestyle which is associated with the urban lifestyle, right? People don't have the time, and they're investing themselves into the work rather than the marriages, and women are also being empowered. Hence the age of marriage has been increased to a number, right? And this is all about the data. Now, what can be the implications and what are the key concerns related to the sample survey research or data from the 2021 data, right? So, what it says, India is currently in the demographic dividend phase. So, we are having the large working age population. However, we have very narrow window to cater this demographic dividend yield, because our elderly population has been on constant rise, right? Second is there is a declining fertility rate. We have already seen, we have the TFR of 2.1, earlier it used to be 2.1, right? And this is known as the fertility transition, which means the long term decline in birth rate observed in countries as they shift from agrarian large family society to the industrial small family society. Since India is also a transitioning society, we are seeing such kind of the changes, right? We are facing the aging challenges, hence we will have to work on the pension, healthcare, elderly care, as well as the security infrastructure in order to protect our population, right? So, next is about a few things about the Registrar General of India. So, it was established in 1961, which operates under the MHA, and headquarter is in New Delhi. Core function of Registrar General of India is to conduct census for India, and it's a statutory responsibility to conduct census every 10 years, which is based on the Census Act of 1948. However, the last census was done, tell me, 2011. So, now it is quite imminent, and also government says that they will conduct a caste census as well. Hopefully, it will be done for the better things, right? Now, SRS provides annual estimation of fertility rate, mortality rate, birth and death rate, IMR, that is the infant mortality rate. Also, there is a civil registration system which maintains and improves the system of registration of birth and deaths in India. They provide vital statistics like vital statistics in India based on the civil registration system, annual health survey AHS, which has been discontinued now, as well as SRS bulletin. They also collect data on the migration, housing, literacy, employment, and census etc. Overall, it is very important organizations for the UPSC prelims as well as main purposes. So, you should be reading it with all detail. Now, let us try to solve this previous year question which came in 2019 from the given information. Next news is on the Vruthi Campaign from the Kerala. So, it is relevant for the GS paper 3, and you can use it in GS paper 3, right, environment section. So, why it is important? It is important for two purposes, because it can be asked in the prelims verbatim, and you can use this case as a case study in the mains paper GS paper 3 in the environment section. Now, let us try to understand what is the Vruthi Campaign is all about. So, Vruthi Campaign is basically a campaign of the Kerala for the waste management, right? What is that? Waste management from the houses, and it was largely based on the Malini Muktam Nava Kerala, means waste free new Kerala, right, which is a pioneering work by the state government in order to deal with the pressing challenge of the waste management. So, what happened during the industrial revolution, it led to production of lot of litter. Before that, the litter management was quite okay, because they used to decompose it in the backyard of the houses. But post the industrialization, we have the more product, and we are not able to decompose it, resulting into lot of garbages here and there. However, using this campaign, Kerala achieved a very remarkable feat. How it is achieved it? So, basically they started the bottom up approach of waste collection, and if you believe the data, last year the waste collection was only 40% house who were covered into this waste collection. By using this campaign, they have covered 75 of the houses of the Kerala. Hence, we will see a cleaner Kerala, better Kerala in coming years. All credit goes to whom? Malini Muktam Nava Kerala. Now, how it is different from the Swachh Bharat mission, which is basically a flagship program of Government of India, which is having two components, urban as well as the rural. So, basically Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or mission is based on the top down approach, right? However, this Malini Muktam Nava Kerlam or the Vruthi Campaign is based on the bottom up approach, right, wherein all the stakeholders are incorporated into the waste management, collection and the processing. That makes it quite unique. So, what other state can learn from it? Other state can learn from the strategic and context specific intervention planned by local government. The planning as well as the execution is done by the local government, hence they are empowered and they are having better decision making at the local level. Also, they connected all key stakeholders in this campaign. For example, children, youth, school goers, college goers as well as the voluntary people who are able to contribute into the collection of the waste management, right. Also, it strengthened the local government functionaries. They worked on the art and culture activities and encouraged competitive approach within the local government. So, we have the competitive federalism, now there will be competitive local government as well, right. It is very good one. Also, they started to do the behavioral changes with the slogan "My Waste, My Responsibility," which is based on the nudge theory, which also was awarded with Nobel Awards few years back, right. So, this is all about the Vruthi Campaign. Hope you will be able to solve the PYQ based on the given information. Next news is main specific. It came into the news written by the Harsh Damodaran and it talks about why farmers prefer rice and wheat, right. So, basically it is relevant for the GS paper 3 and topic will be the cropping pattern, right. So, before going through, just try to understand why it is important. Though in last one of the year there was a question in which you will have to write it in 250 word having 15 marks. What was the question? What are the major factors responsible for making the rice wheat system a success, right. So, basically it is talking about the green revolution, right. In spite of this success, how has the system become the bane in India? So, it is also asking you to discuss the various fall back or the drawbacks of this green revolution part 1, which focused on only two crop, that is the rice and wheat. Accordingly, the writer or the Harsh Damodaran ji has tried to discuss the various facets of the incentive of growing rice as well as wheat, which is considered staple food in most part of the India, right. Now, before going through, just try to understand what is the meaning of the cropping pattern which has been changed due to this production of the rice and wheat at mass level. So, cropping pattern is basically a different crop grown in an area at a particular point in time. This is the definition of the cropping pattern and it is dependent on the climate, soil, support price, value, demand market, labor availability, etc. For example, if there is a demand for the rice, the farmer will grow rice. If there is an incentive for the rice production by the government, people will grow rice. If labor availability is there for the rice and not other crops, people will again grow the rice. So, the cropping pattern depends on the various factors and that is why there are multiple aspects of cropping pattern in India, right. So, let us try to understand the key pattern in recent years. So, rice and wheat are the most preferred crop, more so when they have access to basic irrigation that can supplement natural rainfall, right. So, it is very strange kind of the situation because we know that this rice is water grazing crop, right. Still in irrigated area it is being grown. Why? Because there is an incentive to grow it, right. For example, between 2015-16 and 2020-24 and 2025, the area planted under rice has increased from 29% to 34 lakh hectare in Punjab alone, which is basically largely dependent on the irrigation, while from 10.5 LH to 47 lakh hectare in the Telangana. Again, it is based largely on the irrigation, right. So we can see there is a huge leapfrog in the production of the rice in Telangana, right. Second, both wheat and rice acres in Madhya Pradesh have gone up from 59 lakh hectare to 78 lakh hectare and from 20 lakh hectare to 38 lakh hectare over last 10 years. Again, very strange change, right. Punjab's cotton area has plunged from 3.4 lakh hectare, which is cash crop by the way, to 1 lakh hectare. Very strange factor. Again, why? Because there is an incentive to grow the rice and not incentive to grow the cotton. That's the reason. Also for MP, area under chana that we call chickpea has declined from 30 lakh hectare in 2015-16 to 20 in 2024-25. Obviously, it has been replaced by rice or the wheat, right. Now, what could be the possible reason behind the high inclination towards the rice and wheat? So, the writer talks about assured MSP procurement, right, as the prime cause. For example, rice and wheat enjoy the government's near guaranteed purchase at minimum support price, and this backup does not exist for other crops, right. Hence, there is a diversion for the rice, or there is a natural inclination for the rice or the wheat production in areas even which is largely dependent on the irrigation. Also, with the introduction of the high yielding seeds after the green revolution, high tech farm equipment policies increased food grain production, mainly which was restricted to again rice and wheat. Also, there is a role of input subsidies, for example, public and private investment in water and land, and input subsidies, which is considered government financial assistance for lowering production cost and enabling better outcome, has been a key player, right. For example, high power subsidy provided in the Punjab government has led to a focus on water intensive rice, right. So, people are giving what? Input subsidies is very high, resulting in the production of the rice in place of the other crops. Third is the food preferences. We have already know that rice and wheat are the staple food of the entire India. Either people eat rice or the wheat. Hence, there is a demand which result into the production of these kind of the food crops. Next is the high yield potential and other advantages. For example, SD 338-5 wheat variety has potential to yield over 7.3 tons per hectare. It is also resistant to rust like yellow and black stem etc., which result in the production of more wheat from the people, right. Also, there is a priority regarding public breeding and research support. For example, Pusa DST rice 1 developed by ICR can be cultivated under conditions of water, salinity and alkaline stress condition as well. So, research is also oriented towards the rice or the wheat, which is resulting into what? Production of more rice and wheat in India. Now, what are the concern related to the recent trend? We have seen there is an increase in the production of the rice and the wheat at the cost of the other crops. So, we will see first is the environmental impact. For example, high power subsidies have increased the exploitation of groundwater for irrigation of Punjab, Haryana etc. The water table is decreasing very fast because of the unwise use of the water for the production of the rice, which is not indigenous plant of the places like Haryana and Punjab, right. Moreover, stubble burning is also becoming a problem. You know all the stubble burning and Delhi pollution, how they are linked, right. And it has the implication on other crops as well. That is why there is a lack of crop diversification, and if there is a crop diversification, there are likely chances there will be affected by the pest attack as well, right. Everything is basically interconnected. Hope you will be able to understand the concern. What are the other concern? It also led to the fall in the income of farmer cultivating rice and the wheat. Because of the greater production, obviously you will get lesser price. It is all about the supply and demand game. Also, there are cases of the low productivity in India. So, basically there are two terms that we often use. First is the productivity, second is the production. Both are different. Now, let us try to understand how production is different from the productivity. So, production refers to the total quantity of output right, such as land, labor or capital, right, per unit of UNIPIT. For example, if I am investing 1 lakh and I am getting 1 quintal of wheat, it will be called as the production capacity. However, productivity is if you are investing 1 lakh and getting 10 quintal, then we will know that the productivity. So basically that is the difference between the product and productivity. So India need to work now more on the productivity, like countries like China, which is having very high productivity, or the countries like Australia, or even for that matter the country like USA, which is having high productivity per capita land. In India we have low productivity, resulting into the lesser incentive for the farmers to produce any farm product, right. Also there are chances of disguised employment in the areas. For example, the rice wheat system require large amount of the labor seasonally, which is restricted to the harvest and cropping season only, and the rest of the time the labors are unproductive. This is what we call disguised employment. So what is the way forward on it? First is the diversification of the crops. So instead of only focusing on the staple crops like rice or wheat, we need to focus more on the cash crops or the other crops or the drought resilient that we call Sri Anna, right. Second is that we need to adopt sustainable agriculture practices. For example, zero tillage, crop residue management and organic amendment, etc. you will have to do. We have also the example of happy seeder machine, which allows sowing of wheat without removing the rice stubble. Also we need to do the reform in terms of the minimum support price policy of the government, which is largely a populist policy, and it is not sustainable in long term. So what is the conclusion of entire discussion? So traditional green revolution state must move beyond the businesses as usual approach that prioritizes yield over sustainability, embracing an evergreen revolution, one that ensures productivity while conserving resources, will be likely to securing the future of the farming, ensuring livelihood security and making agriculture attractive for India's rural youth. So very beautifully written conclusion. Hope you will be able to use such kind of the conclusion in your answer as well. Now let us try to solve the mains question based on this entire discussion. Question says, what are the key factors that led to the dominance of rice wheat cropping system in northwestern India? Also critically examine the ecological and economic consequences of its continuous reliance. You will write in 250 words and the marks will be 15 words. That is all on today's discussion. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.